The ballroom of the Grandeur Hotel was filled with elegant guests when Sloane Hartwell's words cut through the air like a sharp blade. "You're pathetic." The silence was instantaneous. Champagne flutes froze mid-air. Conversations died. Even the background music seemed to dim. Every head turned toward the young woman with disheveled auburn hair and a floral dress completely inappropriate for that charity gala event. Before her, Serafina Caldwell, the arranged fiancée of magnate Thaddeus Merrick, went pale, her perfectly painted lips forming a shocked O. Beside Serafina, a child of only 6 years old shrank back, her blue eyes filling with tears. "How dare you?" Serafina began, but Sloane stepped forward. "How dare I?" Sloane looked around, seeing the horrified faces of Boston's elite. "Did you all hear what she just said to this child? That she's a problem to be solved? That orphanages exist for a reason?" Little Wren Merrick, Thaddeus's orphaned niece whom he had just taken in, sobbed quietly. Sloane felt her heart tighten. She knew that pain. That's when she saw him. Thaddeus Merrick was crossing through the crowd with long strides, his tuxedo impeccable, jaw tense, storm-gray eyes fixed on her. At 32, he was considered one of the most coveted bachelors on the East Coast, and the most obedient to his traditionalist family's wishes. "Miss," his voice was low, dangerous. "I think you'd better explain what's happening here." Sloane lifted her chin, her green eyes flashing. "With pleasure, Mr. Merrick." "Your arranged fiancé," she emphasized the word with scorn, "just suggested that your niece should be sent to an orphanage because children ruin marriages, and she didn't sign a contract to be a stepmother." A shocked murmur ran through the crowd. Serafina turned red. "This is ridiculous. Who are you? Some random employee making a scene?" "I'm Wren's new tutor," Sloane answered, improvising quickly as she took the child's trembling hand. "And I won't let anyone make her feel like a burden." Thaddeus's eyes narrowed. "I didn't hire any tutor." "Yes, you did," Sloane lied brazenly. 2 days ago. 2 days earlier. Sloane Hartwell was in the tiny apartment she shared with 2 other waitresses, staring at the eviction notice on the coffee table. 30 days to find a new place or return to Kansas and admit her mother was right. She should never have tried to pursue her dream of becoming a children's book illustrator in Boston. "Did you see this?" Her roommate, Zinnia, waved her phone. "The Merrick family is urgently looking for a tutor. Insane pay, housing included." Sloane took the phone, reading the ad. Thaddeus Merrick had just assumed custody of his niece after an accident that killed her parents. He needed someone qualified immediately. "You're perfect," Zinnia got excited. "You have a degree in early childhood education and 0 professional experience," Sloane completed bitterly. "I've spent the last 2 years waiting tables to pay for my freelance illustrations. But the amount mentioned, it would save not only her, but finally allow her to finish her children's book." Sloane sent her resume at 11:47 p.m. At 6 a.m. the next morning, she received a call. "Miss Hartwell?" An efficient male voice sounded. "Pembroke, executive assistant to Mr. Merrick. He wants to interview you today at 3 p.m. Merrick Manor, Beacon Hill." Sloane almost dropped the phone. The interview was strange. Thaddeus barely looked at her, signing papers while asking mechanical questions. He seemed exhausted, distant, as if carrying the weight of the world. When Sloane mentioned her playful approach to education, he just nodded. "You start Monday. Pembroke will send the details." And that was it. No second interview, no deep background check. Desperate, Sloane concluded. But then Wren entered, a little doll with sad eyes and blonde hair. "Are you leaving too?" she asked softly. Sloane's heart melted. "No, sweetheart, I'm staying." "Present, 2 days ago," Thaddeus repeated slowly, his gaze piercing through Sloane. "Pembroke, confirm this." The assistant, an elegant middle-aged man, checked his tablet, looking confused. "Sir, there's no record of—" "There's a system error," Sloane interrupted boldly. But that doesn't change the fact that you hired a tutor for Ren because, deep down, you know she needs someone who genuinely cares about her. Not someone, she looked at Serafina, who sees her as an inconvenience. Serafina stepped forward, furious. Thaddeus, are you going to let this nobody insult me like this? Everyone waited. Thaddeus Merrick, the man who had always obeyed family expectations, who had accepted an arranged marriage for business connections, who had never broken protocol. He looked at Ren, huddled against Sloane, then at Serafina, with her designer dress and disdainful expression. Finally, at Sloane, this stranger with defiant eyes and inexplicable courage. "The party is over," he said coldly. "Serafina, we'll talk later. Everyone else, good night." As the crowd murmured in shock, he turned to Sloane. "You, my office, now." And Sloane knew that those two words, "you're pathetic," had completely changed her destiny. The walk to Thaddeus Merrick's office felt like a death march. Sloane held Ren's hand tightly, the little girl's fingers cold and trembling. Behind them, Thaddeus's footsteps echoed with terrifying precision on the marble floors of the Grandeur Hotel's private wing. "Mr. Merrick maintains an office suite here," Pembroke explained coolly, holding open an ornate door, "for convenience during events." Convenient for firing lying tutors, Sloane thought grimly. The office was all dark wood and leather, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Boston's glittering skyline. Thaddeus moved behind his desk with predatory grace, loosening his bow tie. For a moment, he just stared at her. "Ren, sweetheart," Sloane said gently, kneeling down. "Can you wait with Mr. Pembroke? Just for a few minutes?" "No!" Ren's grip tightened. "You said you wouldn't leave!" Sloane's heart cracked. She looked up at Thaddeus, seeing something flicker across his stony expression. Pain, maybe. Recognition. "I promise," Sloane whispered. "I'll be right here. You can see me through the glass, okay?" Reluctantly, Ren let Pembroke guide her to the outer office. The moment the door closed, Thaddeus spoke. "Pembroke ran a complete background check in the last 5 minutes." He picked up his phone, reading. "Sloane Hartwell, 26, graduated summa cum laude from University of Kansas, with a degree in early childhood education. Currently employed as a waitress at Marco's Bistro. 3 months behind on rent. No professional childcare experience. And definitely," his eyes lifted, sharp as broken glass, "not hired by me 2 days ago." Sloane's mouth went dry. "I can explain." "Please do." He leaned back, deceptively casual. "Explain why you crashed a private event, lied about employment, and publicly humiliated my fiancée." "She deserved it," Sloane shot back. "What kind of person says those things to a traumatized 6-year-old? "The kind of person," Thaddeus said quietly, dangerously, "whose family owns 40% of Merrick Industries' manufacturing infrastructure. The kind of person I need to marry to prevent a hostile takeover that would destroy 3 generations of work and cost 8,000 people their jobs." The words hit like physical blows. Sloane stared at him. "You're marrying her for business." "I'm marrying her because I have responsibilities." He stood, moving to the window. In profile, he looked carved from stone. "Responsibilities you couldn't possibly understand." "Try me." He laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. "My father built an empire. When he died last year, he left it vulnerable. Serafina's family, the Caldwells, they've been circling like sharks. The engagement was a treaty. Their infrastructure, our innovation. Everyone wins. Except Ren," Sloane said softly. "And you." His jaw clenched. "Ren will adjust. Children are resilient. That's what people who've never been broken children say." Sloane moved closer, reckless with fury. "I grew up in foster care, Mr. Merrick. I know what adjusting means. It means learning to make yourself small, silent, convenient. It means surviving instead of living." Thaddeus turned, and for the first time she saw him truly look at her. Really see her. "You were in foster care." "Until I was 17. She lifted her chin. So when I see a little girl being told she's a problem, when I see her shrinking into herself, yeah, I explode. Maybe I shouldn't have lied. Maybe I crashed your perfect political engagement party. But I'm not sorry I protected her. Silence stretched between them, taut as a wire. Outside, Wren watched through the glass, her small face pressed against it. The interview, Thaddeus said finally. 2 days ago. That was real? Yes. Pembroke called. You barely looked at me. Signed papers. Asked if I had experience with trauma. I said I understood loss. You hired me on the spot. His brow furrowed. I don't remember. You were exhausted, drowning. I could see it. Sloane's voice softened despite herself. You hired me because you were desperate to do right by Wren, even if you don't know how. Thaddeus ran a hand through his dark hair, disheveling it for the first time that evening. He looked younger, more human. Pembroke? The assistant appeared instantly. Sir? Did I conduct any interviews Tuesday afternoon? Pembroke hesitated. Sir, you had 17 meetings that day. I may have scheduled a preliminary screening without entering it into the system. Thaddeus closed his eyes. Because I've been working you to death. It's my job, sir. It's inhuman. He looked at Sloane. Is there any record of our meeting? I have the call log, the address you sent, the NDA I signed. She pulled out her phone with shaking hands. I'm not a liar, Mr. Merrick. Not usually. He studied the screen, something shifting in his expression. You signed an NDA. About Wren's situation, her parents' accident, your family's privacy. Sloane met his eyes. I take that seriously. But you don't take employment protocols seriously. I take children seriously. Everything else is negotiable. The ghost of a smile touched his lips. You're either very brave or very foolish. My roommate says both. This time he did smile, brief, devastating. It transformed his entire face. Sloane's breath caught. Here's what's going to happen, Thaddeus said, all business again. You actually are hired as of now. Pembroke will process the paperwork. Standard probationary period. You'll live in the east wing of Merrick Manor near Wren's rooms. Salary as originally posted. Sloane blinked. You're serious? Wren trusts you. That's rare. He glanced at his niece through the glass. And you're right. She needs someone who understands, someone who won't see her as an obligation. And Serafina? His expression shuttered. We'll learn to accept it. The engagement stands. She'll make Wren's life hell. She'll learn to be civil, or the engagement ends. He straightened his bow tie. I may be obedient to family duty, Miss Hartwell, but I'm not a monster. Wren comes first. Does she? Sloane challenged. Because from where I'm standing, you're still choosing a business deal over her happiness. I'm choosing 8,000 jobs, 3 generations of legacy, and yes, Wren's financial security. His voice hardened. Don't presume to understand what I'm sacrificing. They stood toe-to-toe now, tension crackling. Sloane could smell his cologne, cedar and something darker. His eyes, up close, weren't just gray. They were silver, with flecks of blue. I understand, she whispered, that you're breaking your own heart to save everyone else's. That's not duty. That's cowardice. For a moment, she thought he'd fire her on the spot. His eyes flashed with something dangerous. Anger, yes, but also recognition. As if she'd named something he'd never dared speak aloud. Start Monday, he said coldly. Pembroke will send details. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a fiancé to placate. Sloane left, collecting Wren from the outer office. As they walked away, she glanced back once. Thaddeus stood at the window, alone in his glass tower, looking every inch the powerful magnate. And utterly, devastatingly lonely. I like you, Wren whispered, tucking her hand into Sloane's. Are you really staying? Sloane looked at this brave little girl, then back at the man in the window. "Yeah, sweetheart," she said, knowing she was walking into a disaster. "I'm really staying." Merrick Manor was obscenely beautiful. Sloane stood in the circular driveway Monday morning, her single battered suitcase looking pathetic against the backdrop of limestone columns and manicured gardens. The house, no, mansion, sprawled across Beacon Hill like a crown jewel, all Georgian architecture and old money. "Miss Hartwell," Pembroke appeared at the entrance, impeccable as always. "Welcome. I'll show you to your quarters." The east wing was larger than her entire Kansas childhood home. Hardwood floors, bay windows overlooking the gardens, a four-poster bed that could sleep 4 people. The attached bathroom had heated floors. "This is excessive," Sloane breathed. "Mr. Merrick believes in treating staff well." Pembroke set down her suitcase. "Wren's room is next door. She's been asking about you every hour since Saturday." Guilt twisted in Sloane's stomach. "How is she?" "Quiet. She's always quiet." His professional mask slipped for a moment. "Perhaps you can change that." Before Sloane could respond, a small tornado in princess pajamas burst through the door. "Sloane!" Wren crashed into her, tiny arms wrapping around her waist. "You came! Uncle Thad said you would, but I thought maybe you wouldn't and— Hey! Sloane knelt down, cupping the little girl's face. "I promised, remember? I keep my promises." Wren's blue eyes, so like her uncle's, searched her face. "My mommy promised to come back too." The words were a punch to the gut. Sloane pulled her close. "I'm so sorry, sweetheart." They stayed like that until Wren's breathing steadied. Finally, the little girl pulled back. "Want to see my room? It's really big, but also really lonely." Wren's bedroom was a designer's dream. Canopy bed, built-in bookshelves, a window seat overlooking the rose garden, and absolutely soulless. Everything matched, coordinated, pristine. No drawings on the walls, no toys scattered on the floor, no life. "Do you like it?" Wren asked uncertainly. "I think," Sloane said carefully, "it's beautiful, but it doesn't look like anyone lives here. Uncle Thad's decorator did it. She said little girls love pink and white." "What do you love?" Wren blinked, as if no one had ever asked. I don't know. I used to have a treehouse, and Mom let me paint on the walls sometimes. We had this big mural of a forest with animals and—" Her voice cracked. Sloane made a decision. "Get dressed. We're going shopping. Uncle Thad said I have everything I need." "Uncle Thad," Sloane said firmly, "doesn't know what he's talking about." 2 hours later, they returned loaded with art supplies, stuffed animals, colorful bedding, and, Sloane's personal favorite, glow-in-the-dark star stickers. Wren was actually smiling. They were giggling over paint color samples when a cold voice cut through the room. "What is this disaster?" Serafina Caldwell stood in the doorway, resplendent in ivory silk, looking at their purchases like they were radioactive waste. "We're redecorating," Sloane said evenly, standing. Ren is 6. She doesn't know what she wants." Serafina's eyes were ice. "This room was professionally designed. It cost more than you'll make in 5 years. Then it was a waste of money," Sloane shot back. "Because it looks like a hotel, not a home." "You've been here 5 minutes, and you think you can—" "I think Wren deserves a space that feels like hers." Sloane moved between Serafina and the little girl. "And I think you're in the children's wing without permission." Serafina's laugh was sharp. "Permission? I'm going to be mistress of this house. You're not married yet." The temperature in the room dropped 20 degrees. Serafina stepped closer, voice deadly quiet. "Let me make something very clear, Miss Hartwell. You are the help, hired to keep the orphan occupied until Thaddeus and I can make other arrangements. You don't make decisions. You don't question me. And you certainly don't embarrass me in public again. Or what? Or I'll make sure you're back waiting tables by the end of the week." Serafina smiled, razor sharp. Thaddeus may have hired you in a moment of weakness, but he's practical. When I explain how you're disrupting the household, undermining authority, wasting his money, is there a problem here? Both women turned. Thaddeus filled the doorway, still in his suit from work, tie loosened. His expression was unreadable. Darling. Serafina's voice transformed, honeyed. I was just discussing the household budget with Miss Hartwell. These purchases seem extravagant for staff quarters. They're for Wren's room, Sloane said. She wanted colors, life. Things that Miss Hartwell thinks she knows better than professional designers, Serafina interjected smoothly. I was explaining the importance of maintaining standards. Thaddeus looked at the bags, the paint samples, then at Wren, who had gone small and silent again. All her earlier joy evaporated. Wren, he said quietly, do you like these things? She nodded, barely perceptible. Then they stay. He looked at Serafina. My niece's comfort isn't a budget concern. But Thaddeus, was there anything else, Serafina? The dismissal was clear. Serafina's mask cracked for just a moment, fury and humiliation flashing across her perfect features. Then she smiled. Of course not. I'll see you at dinner. She swept out, but not before shooting Sloane a look of pure venom. The silence she left behind was heavy. Thaddeus ran a hand through his hair. A gesture Sloane was learning meant he was stressed. Uncle Thad? Wren whispered. Are you mad? His expression softened instantly. He crossed the room, kneeling beside his niece. Never at you, little bird. Never. Serafina says I'm in the way. Thaddeus's jaw clenched. She's wrong. But she's going to be my new aunt. And she doesn't like me. Wren! He looked helpless. This powerful man who commanded boardrooms and billion-dollar deals. It's complicated. Uncle Thad has to marry her, Wren explained to Sloane with heartbreaking matter-of-factness. For the company. That's what grandmother said. Sloane's heart twisted. She looked at Thaddeus, who wouldn't meet her eyes. Sometimes, Sloane said carefully, grown-ups make choices they think are right. But that doesn't mean those choices don't hurt. Is that what you think? Thaddeus asked quietly, finally looking at her. That I'm hurting her? I think, Sloane said, holding his gaze. You're trying to save everyone and sacrificing the wrong things to do it. The air between them charged with tension. His eyes, silver blue, devastating, searched hers. For a moment, she saw past the ice, past the control, to the man beneath, exhausted, grieving his brother, terrified of failing the little girl who'd lost everything. Help me, he said, so quietly she almost missed it. Help me do better. It wasn't a request. It was surrender. Okay, Sloane whispered back. But you have to trust me. I don't trust anyone. Learn. They stared at each other, some invisible line being crossed. Then Wren tugged his sleeve. Can Sloane help me paint the forest, like Mom and I used to? Thaddeus looked at the little girl, then at the stark white walls, then at Sloane's determined face. Yes, he said finally. Paint the whole damn room if it makes you happy. Wren squealed, throwing her arms around his neck. Over her head, Thaddeus met Sloane's eyes. Thank you, he mouthed. Sloane nodded, ignoring the way her heart was racing, ignoring the dangerous warmth spreading through her chest. This was just a job. Just a little girl who needed help. Just a man trapped in an impossible situation. She was absolutely not falling for her broken, beautiful, impossible boss. Absolutely not. The scream woke Sloane at 2:47 a.m. She was through the adjoining door before she was fully conscious, heart hammering. Wren thrashed in her bed, tangled in sheets, sobbing words Sloane couldn't understand. Sweetheart, I'm here. Sloane gathered the little girl close, rocking gently. You're safe. I've got you. The car. They wouldn't wake up. Shh, I know. Sloane's own eyes burned. It was just a dream. You're here now. You're safe. It took 20 minutes for Wren's breathing to steady. By then, Sloane was singing, an old lullaby her foster mother once sang, back when kindness still existed in her life. "Stay," Wren whispered when Sloane tried to stand. "Please." So Sloane stayed, curled around the small body, stroking her hair until she felt Wren relax into sleep. She was dozing herself when she sensed someone in the doorway. Thaddeus stood there in sleep pants and nothing else, his hair disheveled, face stripped of its usual mask. He looked young, worried, human. "I heard her scream," he said quietly. "I didn't know what to—" He gestured helplessly. "You handled it. She has nightmares?" "Every night since the accident." His voice was raw. "I've tried everything. Doctors, therapists, sleep aids. Nothing works. She needs time. And someone who understands." Sloane carefully extracted herself from Wren's grip, joining Thaddeus in the hallway. She was suddenly conscious of her own pajamas, tank top and shorts. Nothing fancy. His eyes flickered down, then quickly away. "You were singing," he said. "What was that?" "Something my foster mother used to sing. Before she—" Sloane shrugged. "Before I got moved to the next home." "How many homes?" 7, between ages 8 and 17. She leaned against the wall, exhausted. Some were okay, some weren't. All of them were temporary. Thaddeus was quiet for a long moment. "Is that why you're so good with her? Because you've been her?" "I've been the kid nobody really wanted." "Yeah." Sloane met his eyes. "Your family, they love Wren?" "My mother tolerates her. My grandmother sees her as a duty. My sister Eleanor." He paused. "Eleanor tries, but she has her own children, her own life." "And you?" "I would die for her." Simple. Absolute. But I don't know how to help her. The vulnerability in his voice made Sloane's chest ache. "You're helping by trying. That's more than most people do." They stood in the dim hallway, the house silent around them. Sloane noticed the dark circles under his eyes, the tension in his shoulders. "When do you sleep?" she asked. "Between midnight and 5, if I'm lucky." He rubbed his face. "Company crisis. The Caldwell merger is complicated." "Because you're marrying the Ice Queen?" His lips twitched. "That's uncharitable." "That's accurate." Sloane crossed her arms. "She came by again yesterday. Told Wren that proper young ladies don't make messes when we were finger painting." Thaddeus's expression darkened. "She said that to Wren?" "She says a lot of things when you're not around." Sloane hesitated, then plunged ahead. "Why her, Thaddeus? There has to be another way to save your company." "You think I haven't looked?" His voice was sharp with frustration. "The Caldwells control our entire manufacturing pipeline. Without them, we collapse. 30,000 jobs, gone. My father's legacy, destroyed. And Wren's inheritance. Wren doesn't need money. She needs a family that isn't falling apart. Easy to say when you're not responsible for 30,000 families." He turned away. "You don't understand the weight of this. You're right. I don't understand choosing duty over happiness." Sloane moved closer, reckless. "I don't understand marrying someone who makes a traumatized child feel unwanted. I don't understand—" "Then don't." He whirled back, and suddenly they were inches apart. "Don't understand. Don't judge. Just do your job. My job is protecting Wren, even from you, if necessary." They stared at each other, both breathing hard. His eyes were blazing, silver fire in the darkness. She could see the pulse at his throat, quick and uneven. "You're impossible," he said roughly. "You're a coward." For a heartbeat, she thought he might kiss her. Thought he might close that final distance and prove her wrong about everything. His gaze dropped to her lips, darkened. Then Wren whimpered in her sleep. They sprang apart like guilty teenagers. Thaddeus ran a hand through his hair, visibly composing himself. "I should go," he said, voice carefully neutral. "Yes, You should. But neither moved. The hallway felt too small, the air too thick. Sloane. He stopped, seeming to wrestle with something. Thank you for being here, for understanding what she needs. Someone has to. Yes. His smile was sad, devastating. Someone does. He left, and Sloane sagged against the wall, her heart racing. This was bad. This was very, very bad. The next morning, disaster struck over breakfast. Sloane and Wren were making pancakes. Well, Sloane was making pancakes while Wren covered everything in flour, when Serafina appeared with an older woman who radiated aristocratic disapproval. Mother, this is the situation I mentioned, Serafina said coolly. The woman, Constance Caldwell, Sloane realized with dread, surveyed the flour-covered kitchen with barely concealed horror. I see. Her voice could freeze nitrogen. And this is the tutor my future son-in-law hired? Sloane Hartwell, ma'am. Sloane wiped her hands, refusing to be intimidated. Would you like some pancakes? I would like, Constance said precisely, to understand why my daughter's future home resembles a daycare center. We're cooking, Wren said quietly. Sloane says cooking teaches math and science and… Children, Constance interrupted, should be seen and not heard, especially at the breakfast table. Sloane saw red. With respect, Mrs. Caldwell. You will address me as Mrs. Caldwell and nothing else. The woman's eyes were chips of ice. And you will remember your place. Serafina tells me you've been making unauthorized changes, encouraging disruptive behavior, and overstepping your role considerably. I've been helping a little girl heal from trauma. You've been spoiling her. Constance turned to Serafina. Darling, I think it's time we discussed proper household management with Thaddeus. This chaos simply won't do once you're married. What won't do? Thaddeus entered, Pembroke behind him. He took in the scene. Flour everywhere, Wren shrinking back, Sloane's defiant stance, his future mother-in-law's disapproving glare. Mrs. Caldwell, this is unexpected. Serafina invited me for breakfast, to observe the household. Constance sniffed. I must say, Thaddeus, I'm concerned. This employee seems to have excessive freedom and is encouraging the child to run wild. The child has a name, Sloane said tightly, and we're making breakfast. You're making a mess. Actually, Pembroke interjected smoothly, pulling out his tablet. Miss Hartwell submitted a comprehensive educational plan yesterday. Cooking lessons align with Mr. Merrick's stated goals for Wren's development. Hands-on learning, mathematical concepts, following instructions. I don't care about plans, Constance's composure cracked. I care about order, discipline, proper behavior for a Merrick household. And this, she gestured at the kitchen, is unacceptable. Then perhaps, Thaddeus said quietly, dangerously, you should remember this isn't your household yet. The silence was deafening. Serafina went pale. Constance drew herself up, trembling with rage. I see. Her voice was venomous. Serafina, darling, perhaps we should reconsider this engagement. If Thaddeus values chaos and insubordination over proper family values… No. Serafina grabbed her mother's arm. Mother, please, Thaddeus didn't mean… I meant every word. Thaddeus moved to stand beside Sloane, a united front. Wren is my niece. This is her home. She will not be silenced or shamed for being a child. Constance's smile was terrifying. Then I suppose the Caldwell board will be very interested to hear about your priorities. Good day, Thaddeus. Come, Serafina. They swept out. The front door slammed with echoing finality. Pembroke cleared his throat. Sir, the merger… I know. Thaddeus's jaw was granite. How bad? Potentially catastrophic. Sloane looked at Thaddeus, at the man who just sacrificed everything to defend his niece. To defend her. His face was expressionless, but his hands were clenched into fists. I'm sorry, she whispered. He met her eyes. Don't be. You were right. Some sacrifices aren't worth making. And Sloane realized, with terrifying clarity, that she wasn't just falling for him anymore. She'd already fallen. The Caldwell withdrawal was swift and brutal. Within 48 hours, Merrick Industries' stock dropped 12%. Manufacturing contracts were delayed pending review. 3 board members called emergency meetings, and Thaddeus barely left his office. Sloane saw him in glimpses, passing in hallways at midnight, hunched over his laptop in the study at dawn, his face growing more haggard by the day. He was killing himself trying to save the company, and she couldn't do anything but watch. "Uncle Thad looks sad," Wren said on the 3rd day, watching him through the window as he paced the garden, phone pressed to his ear. "He's worried about work, sweetheart." "Because he stood up for me." Wren's voice was small. "Maybe I should go away. Then Mrs. Caldwell wouldn't be mad anymore." Sloane pulled her close, fierce. "Don't you dare think that. You belong here. Your uncle loves you." "But the company is just a company. You're his family." But even as she said it, Sloane wondered. 30,000 jobs. 3 generations of legacy. Could love really outweigh that responsibility? The answer came that evening, in the form of Serafina Caldwell. She appeared at the manor unannounced, perfectly composed in designer black. Sloane met her in the foyer, Pembroke hovering nervously. "I need to speak with Thaddeus," Serafina said. No preamble, no pleasantries. "He's in a conference call." "I'll wait." They sat in uncomfortable silence in the drawing room. Serafina studied her manicured nails. Sloane tried not to fidget. "You must be very proud," Serafina said finally, voice like poisoned honey. "You've destroyed everything in less than 2 weeks." "I haven't destroyed anything." "No?" Serafina's laugh was brittle. "Thaddeus has lost a crucial alliance. His company is hemorrhaging value, and his reputation as a reliable partner is in ruins. All because you convinced him that defying my mother was noble instead of catastrophically stupid. He defended his niece. That's not stupid. It's sentimental, and sentiment doesn't save companies." Serafina leaned forward, eyes hard. "Do you know what happens when Merrick Industries collapses? 30,000 people lose their jobs. Suppliers go bankrupt. Entire communities that depend on those factories, gone. But I suppose that's acceptable collateral damage for your little moral victory." The words hit like acid. "That's not what You didn't think. You just reacted, playing hero without considering consequences." Serafina stood, smoothing her dress. "The difference between us, Miss Hartwell, is that I understand sacrifice. I was willing to marry a man I don't love, to be stepmother to a child I never wanted, to preserve something bigger than myself. What have you sacrificed, besides someone else's future?" Sloane felt sick, because Serafina wasn't entirely wrong. Thaddeus appeared then, looking exhausted. "Serafina, I didn't know you were coming. We need to talk, privately." He glanced at Sloane, something unreadable in his eyes, then nodded. "My office." They disappeared. Sloane sat frozen, Serafina's words echoing. "What have you sacrificed?" An hour later, Thaddeus found her in Wren's room, reading bedtime stories. Wren was already asleep, curled around her stuffed elephant. "Can we talk?" His voice was rough. They went to Sloane's room. Thaddeus closed the door, leaned against it, and for a long moment just looked at her. "Serafina made me an offer," he said finally. "Her family will restore all contracts, reinvest in the merger, salvage everything, in exchange for 2 conditions. Sloane's stomach dropped. "What conditions?" "First, we move the wedding up, next month instead of next year. And second, you're fired." The words hung in the air like smoke. Sloane couldn't breathe. "She wants you gone," Thaddeus continued, voice hollow. "Out of the house, away from Wren, no contact. She says you're a disruptive influence, undermining household authority. And legally, she's not wrong. I can't keep an employee who creates chaos with my future in-laws." "So that's it?" Sloane's voice shook. 30,000 jobs trump one little girl's happiness. Trump everything. Don't, his eyes flashed. Don't make this simple. It's not simple. It's exactly that simple. You either choose Ren or choose the company. I choose both. He pushed off the door, suddenly furious. I choose keeping my niece fed and housed and educated. I choose making sure she inherits something instead of bankruptcy. I choose... His voice cracked. I choose not failing everyone who depends on me. By marrying someone who will make Ren miserable for the rest of her childhood. By marrying someone who will tolerate her, who won't send her away. Serafina promised, if you're gone, she'll accept Ren. They'll reach an understanding. An understanding? Sloane laughed bitterly. She'll break that girl's spirit, Thaddeus. Slowly, quietly, until Ren becomes exactly what Constance Caldwell wants. Silent, obedient, empty. You don't know that. I lived it, the words tore out of her. I was Ren in a dozen homes with a dozen families who tolerated me.
Do you know what that does to a child? What it feels like to know you're unwanted? To make yourself smaller every day until there's nothing left? Then help me find another way. His composure shattered completely. You think I want this? You think I want to marry someone I don't love? Fire the only person who's made Ren smile in months? Sacrifice every... He stopped, breathing hard. Every what? Everything. His voice dropped to a whisper. Every chance at something real.
The air between them electrified. Sloane's heart hammered. Thaddeus, you want to know what I'm sacrificing? He moved closer, eyes blazing. I'm sacrificing mornings watching you paint with Ren. I'm sacrificing the way you challenge me, infuriate me, make me want to be better. I'm sacrificing the possibility of... He stopped himself, jaw clenched. It doesn't matter. None of it matters compared to 30,000 families. It matters to me. The confession escaped before Sloane could stop it. It matters to Ren. It matters. It can't. He was so close now. She could see gold flecks in his gray eyes. I can't choose you, Sloane. Even though I... He closed his eyes, warring with himself. Even though I want to. Then do it. Her voice was barely audible. Choose happiness over duty. Choose love over legacy. Choose... I can't. But he didn't move away. If I were just a man, not a Merrick, not responsible for thousands of lives. If I were free. His hand came up, almost touching her face, trembling. But I'm not free. I've never been free. They stood frozen, inches apart, everything unsaid hanging between them. There has to be another way, Sloane whispered. Let me help. Let me... You help by leaving. The words were anguished. Before this gets worse, before I do something unforgivable. Like what? Like this. He kissed her. It was desperate, broken, a drowning man gasping for air. His hands framed her face like she was something precious and devastating. Sloane melted into him, tasting salt, his tears or hers, she couldn't tell. When they broke apart, he was shaking. I'm sorry, he whispered against her forehead. I'm so sorry. For kissing me? For having to let you go? He left before she could respond, the door closing with terrible finality. Sloane sank onto the bed, touching her lips, tasting heartbreak. She had 1 week. 1 week to find a solution, save the company, and prove that duty and love didn't have to be mutually exclusive. Or 1 week to watch the man she loved marry someone else. Sloane spent 3 days doing what she did best, surviving by any means necessary. She started in Thaddeus's study at 3 a.m. when the house was silent. Financial reports, merger documents, board meeting minutes, she read everything. No business degree, no MBA, just desperate determination and the street-smart resourcefulness that kept foster kids alive. The problem crystallized by dawn. Merrick Industries didn't just need the Caldwell manufacturing infrastructure. They needed it immediately because of a massive contract deadline. Without those factories, they'd default, lose everything. But what if there was another manufacturing partner? Sloan spent day 2 on her laptop, researching competitors, alternatives, anyone with the capacity to replace Caldwell. She found 3 possibilities. All too small, too slow, or too expensive. Day 3, she did something crazy. She called them anyway. Hartwell Consulting, she lied smoothly to the CEO of Garrison Manufacturing. I'm exploring partnership opportunities for a major client. Hypothetically, could you scale production for a contract this size? Hypothetically, no. We'd need 6 months minimum. What if you partnered with someone? Combined resources? A pause. With who? Kingston Industrial. They have capacity but lack your technology. Together, Kingston's our competitor. They're also drowning, like you, like everyone the Caldwells are squeezing. Sloan took a breath. What if I told you Merrick Industries is looking for alternatives? What if this is your chance to break the Caldwell monopoly? Another pause. Longer. I'd say you're either brilliant or insane. Probably both. I'll take those odds. By day 4, she had preliminary interest from 4 companies willing to form a consortium. It was messy, complicated, probably impossible, but it was a chance. She burst into Thaddeus's office Thursday evening, breathless. He looked up from his laptop, shadows under his eyes, looking like he hadn't slept in days. Sloan, you shouldn't be. I found a solution. She dumped her research on his desk. 4 manufacturers, willing to consortium. Combined, they match Caldwell's capacity. It'll take coordination, but it's possible. He stared at the papers, then at her. You did this. Someone had to. She leaned forward, urgent. Thaddeus, you don't have to marry her. There's another way. For a moment, hope flickered across his face. Then it died. This would take months to implement. We have 3 weeks before default. So we ask for an extension, renegotiate terms. The board doesn't know there's an alternative. Show them this. Fight for it. She grabbed his hands. Fight for Ren. For yourself. For us? His voice was raw. There is no us, Sloan. There can't be. Because you won't let there be. She pulled back, frustrated. You're so busy being noble and self-sacrificing that you can't see there are other options. You've convinced yourself this marriage is inevitable when it's just the only way I know how to save everyone I'm responsible for. He stood abruptly. You want me to gamble 30,000 jobs on a maybe? On a consortium that might work if everything aligns perfectly? Yes, because the alternative is guaranteed misery. For who? Me? He laughed bitterly. I'm one person, Sloan. My happiness doesn't outweigh. What about Ren's happiness? She's a person too. And she'll have security, education, a home. And a stepmother who hates her, Sloan was shouting now. God, you're so focused on duty, you can't see you're repeating the same cycle that probably made you this way. His face went white. What? You think this is about responsibility? It's about fear. The words poured out, reckless. You're terrified of wanting something for yourself, of being human instead of perfect. So you hide behind duty and sacrifice and, get out! Thaddeus, get out! His voice cracked. You're fired. Effective immediately. Pack your things and leave my house. The words were physical blows. Sloan staggered back. You don't mean that. I mean every word. His face was granite, but his hands shook. You've been here 2 weeks and destroyed everything. My engagement, my company's stability, He turned away. Go. Before I say something unforgivable. You already did. Sloan fled. She was throwing clothes into her suitcase when Ren appeared, tear-stained and terrified. You're leaving? The little girl's voice was barely a whisper. Like everyone else? Sloan's heart shattered. She knelt down, pulling Ren close. I don't want to, sweetheart. But your uncle. I heard you fighting. Ren sobbed into her shoulder. Please don't go. Please, you promised. I know I did. Sloan was crying too. But sometimes grown-ups make mistakes. And Miss Hartwell, Pembroke stood in the doorway, his usual composure cracked. "You have a visitor, downstairs. She's quite insistent." The woman in the foyer was elderly, imperious, and vaguely familiar. She leaned on a silver-topped cane, examining Sloane with sharp eyes. "So you're the girl causing chaos in my grandson's life?" Sloane's stomach dropped. "Mrs. Merrick." "Eleanor Merrick, matriarch of this family and apparently the only person with sense left." She gestured with her cane. "Sit. We need to talk." They sat in the drawing room. Eleanor accepted tea from Pembroke, took a deliberate sip, then skewered Sloane with a look. "Thaddeus called me an hour ago. Said he fired you. Sounded utterly miserable about it." She set down her cup. "I want to know why a tutor he's known for 2 weeks has him in pieces." "I tried to help," Sloane said quietly. "I failed." "Did you? Or did you simply show him there are other options besides sacrificing himself?" Sloane looked up, surprised. Eleanor smiled grimly. "I know my grandson. Brilliant, dutiful, self-destructive. Just like his father." Her expression softened. "And just like his father, he thinks love is a luxury he can't afford. He's trying to save the company. He's trying to atone for being happy." Eleanor's voice was steel. "His brother Marcus, Wren's father, he was the golden child. Charming, perfect, everyone's favorite. Thaddeus was the spare, the responsible one. When Marcus died, Thaddeus inherited everything, and the guilt of surviving." The pieces clicked into place. Sloane's throat tightened. "So he punishes himself," Eleanor continued. "Marries a woman he doesn't love. Pushes away anyone who makes him feel. Becomes the perfect Merrick heir his father always wanted." She leaned forward. "Unless someone stops him." "I tried. He won't listen." "Then make him listen." Eleanor stood, fierce despite her age. "That consortium idea, it's good, better than good. I still have influence with the board. Get me details, I'll make it happen." "But Thaddeus said—" "Thaddeus is terrified, of failing, of wanting, of being human." Eleanor gripped Sloane's shoulder. "Someone needs to save him from himself. Might as well be you." "Why would you help me?" "Because I've watched my grandson slowly die inside for 15 years. And you—" Eleanor's smile was knowing. "You make him live. That's worth fighting for." Sloane found Thaddeus on the manor's roof terrace, his forbidden sanctuary. He didn't turn when she approached. "I told you to leave," he said quietly. "Your grandmother told me to stay." Sloane moved beside him. "She also told me about Marcus." His jaw clenched. "She had no right. She loves you. So do I." He turned sharply, eyes wide. "Sloane, I love you," she repeated, stepping closer. "I love that you're trying to save everyone. I love that you're scared and broken and so desperate to do right by Wren. I love that you kissed me like it was the bravest and most terrifying thing you've ever done." "Stop," his voice cracked. "Please stop." "Why? Because it hurts? Because it's real?" She cupped his face. "You can't marry Serafina. Not when you feel this. Not when there are other options." "There aren't." "There are. Your grandmother is presenting the consortium to the board tomorrow. It'll work, Thaddeus. You just have to trust me. And if it doesn't, if it fails and I've destroyed everything for love, for happiness, for a real family," Sloane's voice was fierce, "then you'll have tried. You'll have chosen life over duty. That's not failure, that's courage." They stood in the darkness, the city lights spreading below them like stars. "I'm so tired," he whispered. "Tired of being strong, tired of choosing between impossible things." "Then don't choose. Fight for everything. For the company and Wren. For duty and love." She leaned her forehead against his. "Fight for us. Sloane, I'm not leaving. Fire me again, I'll come back. Push me away, I'll push harder." She pulled back, eyes blazing. "You don't get to sacrifice us without a fight." He looked at her, really looked. and something broke open in his expression. Fear, hope, desperate longing. "If I do this," he said hoarsely, "if I call off the engagement, bet everything on your plan, and it fails, then we fail together." He kissed her then, deep and claiming, and nothing like their first desperate kiss. This was a promise, a choice, a beginning. The emergency board meeting was scheduled for Friday at 10 a.m. By 9:45, Sloane was a wreck. She sat in the Manor's library with Eleanor, going over numbers for the 100th time. The consortium was solid, on paper. 4 manufacturers, combined capacity, competitive pricing, but convincing 12 board members to abandon the Caldwell merger in favor of an untested alliance. "Stop fidgeting," Eleanor commanded. "You look guilty. I feel guilty. What if this ruins him? What if it saves him?" Eleanor's eyes were sharp. Besides, too late for doubts now. The door opened. Thaddeus entered, immaculate in a charcoal suit, but his eyes found Sloane's immediately. Last night's kiss hung between them. Promise and terror intertwined. "The board is assembled," he said quietly. "Serafina and her mother arrived 10 minutes ago. They know something's happening." "Good," Eleanor said briskly. "Let them sweat." "Grandmother?" "Oh, hush, darling. I've been handling Caldwell since before you were born." She stood, gripping her cane. "Now let's go save your company and your soul." The boardroom was tension incarnate. 12 members sat around the mahogany table. Old money, new money, all of them looking grim. Serafina and Constance occupied chairs near the head, perfectly composed, but radiating ice. Pembroke stood by the presentation screen, tablet ready. Thaddeus took his place at the head of the table. Sloane and Eleanor sat in the gallery seats, technically observers but very much part of the battle. "Thank you all for coming on short notice," Thaddeus began. "I know there are concerns about the company's direction, particularly regarding the Caldwell merger." "Concerns?" Board member Harold Fitzroy snorted. "We're hemorrhaging value daily. The Caldwell withdrawal nearly destroyed us." "Which is why," Constance interjected smoothly, "Serafina and I are here to offer reconciliation. The engagement will proceed as planned. All contracts will be restored, and this unfortunate incident can be forgotten." Murmurs of relief around the table. Sloane's stomach knotted. "There is, however, one condition," Serafina added, her eyes finding Sloane. "Certain disruptive elements must be removed from the household, permanently." "Disruptive elements?" Eleanor's voice could cut glass. "Do elaborate, dear." "I think we all know what I mean." Serafina's smile was poisonous. "Employees who overstep boundaries, encourage chaos, and undermine family authority. Once they're gone, we can restore order." "Order," Eleanor repeated. "How delightful." "Thaddeus, darling, is that the future you envision? Ordering your life around what the Caldwells deem acceptable?" Thaddeus stood. "Actually, I found an alternative solution. Pembroke." The presentation lit up. Sloane's consortium, meticulously detailed. Manufacturing capacity, timeline projections, cost analyses. 4 companies, unified purpose. Silence, then chaos. "This is insane!" Fitzroy exploded. "You want to replace a proven partner with an untested alliance?" "A proven partner who's been price gouging us for years," Eleanor countered. "Look at the numbers, Harold. The consortium is cheaper and more flexible. But the implementation timeline is aggressive but achievable," Thaddeus said firmly. "I've already secured preliminary agreements from all 4 companies. They're motivated, capable, and not holding our company hostage for personal concessions." Constance stood, trembling with rage. "This is about that woman, isn't it?" She pointed at Sloane. "Some nobody waitress has you throwing away a strategic alliance for independence," Thaddeus interrupted, voice like steel. "For a partnership based on business merit, not blackmail. For—" The boardroom doors crashed open. Wren stood there, small and fierce in her paint-stained overalls, Pembroke's assistant hovering behind her apologetically. "I'm sorry, sir, she insisted." "Uncle Thad," Wren said, voice shaking but determined. "I need to say something." Every head turned. Serafina went pale. Thaddeus looked stricken. "Wren, sweetheart, this isn't—" "Please." The little girl walked forward, chin up, despite her trembling. "Everyone's talking about me like I'm not here, about what's best for me, but nobody asked what I want." She climbed onto a chair, looking at the assembled board with heartbreaking courage. "My name is Wren Merrick. My parents died 3 months ago. Uncle Thad took me in because he's good and kind and loves me even though I'm sad and broken and mess up his perfect house." Sloane's vision blurred with tears. "Miss Serafina says I'm a problem," Wren continued, voice stronger now. "That good children are quiet and don't make messes. But Sloane says being sad is okay, that painting helps, that I don't have to be perfect to be loved." "This is highly inappropriate," Constance started. "Let her speak," Eleanor commanded. Wren looked at Thaddeus. "Uncle Thad, you're scared I'll lose my home if the company fails. But I already lost my home when Mom and Dad died. The house doesn't matter. The money doesn't matter. You matter. And you're so sad all the time, trying to save everything and everybody except yourself." Thaddeus gripped the table edge, knuckles white. "Sloane makes you smile," Wren said simply. "She makes both of us smile. And Miss Serafina makes everyone sad and scared, so I don't understand why we have to choose her over being happy." The silence was absolute. "Out of the mouths of babes," Eleanor murmured. Serafina stood, face twisted with fury. "This is emotional manipulation. A child being coached to tell the truth?" Sloane was on her feet now. Yes, she was coached. By life. By loss. By watching adults sacrifice what matters for what's convenient. "You have no right to speak here." "I have every right. I'm the person who loves them both. Who won't stand by while you bully a traumatized child and trap a good man in a loveless marriage." Sloane turned to the board. "You want to know what's best for this company? Leaders who give a damn. Not people going through the motions, slowly dying inside, making decisions from obligation instead of passion." "Passion doesn't run companies," Fitzroy said, but he sounded uncertain. "No, but vision does. Innovation does. People who care about more than quarterly reports." Sloane pulled out one more document. "I did more research. For the past 5 years, every Merrick Industries breakthrough came from divisions Thaddeus personally oversees. Every successful pivot, every market adaptation. Him, not the board, not the Caldwells. Him, when he was allowed to actually lead instead of just manage." She slid the analysis across the table. Board members leaned in, studying. "The consortium isn't just about replacing the Caldwells," Sloane continued. "It's about breaking free of partnerships that limit you, about choosing innovation over tradition, about gambling everything on a maybe," Constance snapped. "These 4 companies have never worked together. The logistics alone are complex but manageable," Eleanor interjected. "I've reviewed the projections. They're sound." "You would say that." "This is clearly a family conspiracy to what, Constance? Free my grandson from your daughter's talons?" Eleanor smiled sweetly. "Yes, absolutely, and I'm not ashamed of it." Board member Victoria Chen cleared her throat. "With respect, Mrs. Caldwell, I'm looking at these numbers. The consortium proposal is compelling. Risky, yes, but our Caldwell dependency has always been a vulnerability." "Victoria," Fitzroy started. "I'm just saying maybe it's worth considering. Real diversification instead of putting all our eggs in one increasingly expensive basket." Other board members nodded. The tide was shifting. Constance saw it too. Her expression turned venomous. "Fine. Pursue your little fantasy. But when it fails, and it will fail, don't come crawling back. The Caldwells don't offer second chances." "Neither do the Merricks," Thaddeus said quietly. "The engagement is over, Serafina. I'm sorry. You deserve someone who loves you, not someone marrying you for manufacturing contracts. Serafina's composure finally cracked. You're throwing away everything for her? Some nobody with a savior complex? I'm choosing honesty over convenience. If that destroys me... He looked at Sloane, at Ren, then back at Serafina. Then I'll have destroyed myself for something real instead of slowly suffocating in something fake. You'll regret this, Serafina hissed. Probably. But I'll regret it honestly. The Caldwells swept from the room, slamming doors in their wake. The board sat in stunned silence. Then Fitzroy spoke. Well, that was dramatic. He looked at the consortium proposal. We need to vote. All in favor of pursuing this alliance and terminating Caldwell partnership negotiations? Hands rose, slowly at first, then more, 7 out of 12. Motion carries, Victoria said, looking dazed. God help us all. After the board dispersed, Sloane found Thaddeus on the roof terrace again. He stood at the railing, staring at the city. Did I just destroy everything my family built? He asked quietly. No. You saved it. Sloane moved beside him. Saved it from becoming something hollow. The consortium could still fail. It could, or it could revolutionize how you do business. She took his hand. Either way, you chose truth. That takes courage. He turned, cupping her face. I'm terrified. Good. Me too. What if... No what ifs. Not right now. She kissed him softly. Right now, you're free. We're free. That's enough. Behind them, Ren appeared, looking worried. Uncle Thad, did I mess everything up? Thaddeus pulled her close, Sloane too, holding them both. No, little bird. You saved everything. And standing there, the three of them together against the Boston skyline, Sloane finally believed it. They'd survive this. Together. 6 months later. The Merrick Industries annual gala was in full swing. The same ballroom where everything began, transformed now with autumn flowers and golden light. But this time, Sloane arrived through the front entrance, wearing a deep green gown that Eleanor had insisted on buying, her hair swept up elegantly. You clean up nice, Thaddeus murmured, offering his arm. He looked devastating in his tuxedo, but it was his smile, genuine, unguarded, that stopped her heart. You're not so bad yourself, Mr. Merrick. It's Thaddeus, he corrected, pulling her close. How many times do I have to tell you? At least 1,000 more. 6 months. 6 months since that chaotic board meeting. 6 months of chaos, triumph, and occasional terror. The consortium had stumbled at first. Logistics nightmares, communication breakdowns, one manufacturer nearly pulling out. Sloane had spent weeks coordinating, mediating, occasionally threatening. Thaddeus had worked 20-hour days restructuring supply chains. But it worked. Merrick Industries' stock had not only recovered but grown. The consortium proved more efficient than the Caldwell monopoly, more innovative, more adaptable. 3 other companies had already approached them about joining. And Thaddeus had transformed. Uncle Thad! Sloane! Ren appeared, a vision in a blue dress, her blonde hair in careful braids. Everyone's asking about the announcement. The announcement. Sloane's stomach fluttered. Let them wait, Thaddeus said, ruffling his niece's hair. How's your art show preparation? Perfect. Ms. Eleanor says my forest mural is the best she's seen from a 7-year-old. Ren beamed. All traces of the broken, silent child gone. She had nightmares still, saw a therapist weekly, but she laughed now. Created. Lived. Because it is, Sloane confirmed. You're brilliant, sweetheart. Ren hugged them both, then ran off to find her grandmother. She's happy, Thaddeus said softly, watching her go. Really happy. So are you. He turned, eyes serious. Because of you. All of this, the consortium, my freedom, Ren's healing. It's because you crashed a party and called my fiancé pathetic. Sloane laughed. Technically accurate, but romantically lacking. Let me try again. He took both her hands, and suddenly the ballroom noise faded. 6 months ago, you broke into my life like a hurricane, challenged everything I believed about duty and sacrifice and what it meant to be a Merrick. You fought for Ren when I was too afraid to fight for anything except survival. Thaddeus, let me finish. His voice was rough with emotion. You taught me that choosing happiness isn't selfish, that love isn't a luxury I can't afford. It's the only thing that makes everything else worthwhile. You saved me, Sloane, from myself, from a life of going through the motions until I forgot what living felt like. Tears pricked Sloane's eyes. You saved yourself. I just gave you permission. Then give me permission for one more thing. He dropped to one knee. The ballroom went silent. Sloane's heart stopped. Ren appeared from nowhere, bouncing excitedly. Eleanor watched from across the room, dabbing her eyes. Sloane Hartwell, Thaddeus said, producing a velvet box. 6 months isn't long, I know. Some would say we're crazy, rushing this. But I've spent 15 years being careful, being practical, being dutiful. I don't want to be careful anymore. I want to be reckless and terrified and so full of joy I can barely breathe, and I can only do that with you. He opened the box. The ring was vintage, emerald-cut diamond surrounded by smaller stones, clearly an heirloom. This was my grandmother's. She gave it to me 3 months ago and told me not to wait, that life is too short and love too rare. His voice shook. Marry me. Not for business or duty or any logical reason. Marry me because I love you. Because you make me brave. Because I want to wake up every morning and choose us over and over for the rest of my life. Sloane couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. The room swam with tears. Yes, she finally whispered. Yes, you ridiculous, wonderful man, yes. He slid the ring on her finger, stood, and kissed her as the ballroom erupted in applause. It tasted like salt and champagne and perfect, terrifying happiness. When they broke apart, Ren crashed into them, shrieking. Does this mean Sloane is staying forever? Forever, Thaddeus confirmed, scooping her up, if she'll have us. She already has you, Eleanor said, appearing with champagne. Now she's just making it legal. Well done, darling, both of you. The rest of the evening blurred. Congratulations, toasts, dancing. Sloane floated through it all, the ring heavy and perfect on her finger. Later, they escaped to the same roof terrace where Sloane had first told him she loved him. The city spread below, a sea of lights. Are you sure? Sloane asked quietly. 6 months is fast. People will talk. Let them. He pulled her against him. I wasted 15 years being sure about the wrong things. I'd rather be reckless about the right thing. The consortium, marriage, instant family, that's a lot of reckless. Terrifying, he agreed. But with you, I'd choose terror over numbness every single time. They stood in comfortable silence, his arms around her, her head on his shoulder. I never thought I'd have this, Sloane confessed. Family, home, someone who chooses me, not out of obligation, but because you're extraordinary. He turned her to face him. Because you're brave and fierce and you see people, really see them, and refuse to let them settle for less than they deserve. Because you walked into my life and destroyed my carefully constructed walls, and I've never been more grateful for destruction in my life. I love you, she said simply, even when you're insufferably noble. I love you, even when you're impossibly stubborn. We're going to drive each other crazy. Absolutely. He grinned, that rare, devastating smile that transformed his entire face. Can't wait. Inside, Ren was showing Eleanor her sketchbook, filled with drawings of their new family. 3 figures, tall man, red-haired woman, small blonde girl, holding hands, surrounded by stars and flowers and hope. Do you think they'll be happy? Ren asked. Uncle Thad and Sloane? Eleanor looked through the window at the couple on the terrace, wrapped around each other against the night sky. "Oh, my darling girl," she said softly. "I think they already are." And in that moment, with Thaddeus holding her like she was something precious, Sloane finally understood what home meant. Not a place, not security or stability or any of the things she'd chased for years. Home was this, being seen, being chosen, being loved not despite her sharp edges, but because of them. It was a little girl who'd lost everything learning to smile again. It was a man who'd forgotten how to live remembering joy. It was choosing each other every day against every obstacle. It was enough. More than enough. It was everything. "What are you thinking?" Thaddeus asked, brushing a strand of hair from her face. Sloane looked at the ring on her finger, then at the man who'd given it, then at the future stretching before them. Uncertain, terrifying, perfect. "I'm thinking," she said, "that 6 months ago, I called your fiancé pathetic in front of Boston's elite." He laughed. "Best thing that ever happened to me. And now we're getting married. Worst decision you'll ever make," he teased. "Or the best." She kissed him softly. "Guess we'll find out. Together." "Together," she agreed. And as the gala continued below, as their future waited ahead, Sloane Hartwell, soon to be Sloane Merrick, finally believed in happy endings. Not because they were easy, but because they were earned. 18 months later. The mid-morning sun streamed through the windows of Merrick Manor's sunroom, illuminating paint splatters, scattered books, and what could only be described as organized chaos. Sloane sat cross-legged on the floor, her very pregnant belly making the position challenging, surrounded by illustration boards for her third children's book. No, the dragon should be purple," Wren insisted, now 8 and gloriously opinionated. "Purple dragons are friendlier." "You said that about the last 3 dragons," Sloane laughed, adjusting her position with a wince. "At this rate, the entire kingdom will be purple." "What's wrong with purple?" Thaddeus appeared in the doorway, coffee in hand, looking unfairly handsome in casual weekend clothes. Married life suited him. The permanent tension had left his shoulders. Laugh lines crinkled around his eyes. "Nothing, apparently." Sloane held up her hands in surrender. "Purple dragon it is." He crossed the room, kneeling beside her with practiced grace, one hand automatically going to her belly. "How's our little rebel this morning?" "Kicking like she's training for soccer." Sloane covered his hand with hers. "Or practicing her escape route. Can't really blame her. It's getting crowded in there." 3 more weeks, he murmured, pressing a kiss to her temple. 3 weeks, until we meet baby Iris. Iris Eleanor Merrick. Named for Sloane's long-lost foster mother who'd shown her kindness, and for the grandmother who'd helped save them all. Eleanor had cried when they told her, actual tears from the formidable matriarch. "Can I feel?" Wren asked shyly. Despite 18 months of being family, she still asked permission for affection sometimes. Healing wasn't linear. "Always, sweetheart." Sloane guided her hand to where the baby was moving. Wren's face lit up with wonder. "She's so strong. Uncle Thad feel right there." They stayed like that, the 3, almost 4 of them, tangled together in the sunlight. This was what Sloane had fought for. This casual intimacy. This joy. "I hate to break up this moment," Pembroke announced from the doorway, "but Mrs. Eleanor has arrived with guests, and she's wearing what I can only describe as a triumphant expression." Eleanor swept into the drawing room with Victoria Chen and 2 other board members, all carrying champagne. "Emergency celebration," Eleanor announced. "The consortium just secured the Nakamura contract. That's 3 major international deals this quarter. We're officially outperforming every projection." Thaddeus stood, shock crossing his face. "Nakamura? They've been negotiating with us for months. And they finally chose Merrick Industries over 6 competitors, specifically citing our innovative consortium model as the deciding factor." Victoria handed him a tablet with the contract details. "Congratulations, Thaddeus. Your gamble paid off. Spectacularly." Sloane watched her husband's face transform. Pride, relief, vindication. 18 months ago, he'd risked everything on her crazy idea. Now, Merrick Industries was thriving in ways the Caldwell merger never could have achieved. "The board wanted me to tell you personally," Victoria continued, "and to thank Mrs. Merrick for her vision. Without her initial research—" "Please," Sloane laughed, struggling to stand until Thaddeus helped her. "I just made some phone calls. Thaddeus did the impossible part, actually implementing it." "You both did," Eleanor said firmly. "Now drink. Or in your case, dear," she handed Sloane sparkling cider, "pretend to drink while growing my great-granddaughter." As the small group toasted, Wren tugged Sloane's sleeve. "Does this mean the company is safe? Like, really safe?" "Really safe," Thaddeus confirmed, pulling her close. "Thanks to Sloane's crazy idea and a lot of people willing to try something new." "And you breaking up with Miss Serafina," Wren added matter-of-factly. "That was important too." The room went quiet, then erupted in laughter. Victoria nearly choked on her champagne. "Yes," Thaddeus said gravely, fighting a smile. "That was rather crucial to the whole plan." After the impromptu celebration ended, Sloane found herself alone with Eleanor in the garden. The older woman had been quieter than usual, studying Sloane with those sharp, knowing eyes. "You've done well," Eleanor said finally. "Not just with the consortium or Wren. With him, he's lighter. Younger, almost. He did the work himself. You loved him when he believed he didn't deserve it. That's no small thing." Eleanor took Sloane's hand, surprisingly gentle. "When my husband died, Thaddeus was only 17. He took on so much responsibility, so much pressure. I watched him slowly calcify, turning into this perfect, miserable heir. I couldn't reach him. His mother couldn't. No one could. Eleanor, then you crashed a party, called his fiancée pathetic, and reminded him that duty without joy is just slow death." Eleanor smiled. "I've wanted to thank you for that, for giving me back my grandson." Sloane's throat tightened. "You helped save us. That board meeting was me being selfish. I wanted my family back." Eleanor looked toward the house, where Thaddeus and Wren were visible through the window, laughing at something. "Now look at them. Actually happy. You did that. We all did that." "Yes," Eleanor agreed. "We did. Family isn't about perfection, dear girl. It's about showing up, fighting for each other, choosing love even when it's terrifying." She patted Sloane's hand. "You've taught us that, and we're better for it." That evening, after Wren was tucked into bed, her walls now covered with the forest mural they'd painted together, constellations glowing on the ceiling, Sloane and Thaddeus retreated to their bedroom. Their bedroom. Even after a year of marriage, the phrase made Sloane's heart skip. "Tired?" Thaddeus asked, helping her out of her dress. "Exhausted. Your daughter thinks nighttime is party time." Sloane rubbed her belly. "Also, I got the final proofs for the book today. It's done." The Girl Who Found Home, Sloane's third children's book, based loosely on her and Wren's story. A tale of a lost girl and a lonely forest that learned to bloom together. It was her most personal work, her most vulnerable, and it was being published by one of the biggest children's publishers in the country. "I'm so proud of you," Thaddeus murmured, pulling her back against his chest, hands cradling her belly. "From waitress to published author to savior of my family business to mother of my children. You're extraordinary." "I'm terrified," she admitted. "What if I'm a terrible mother? What if I mess up Iris the way I was messed up? What if—" "Then we'll unmess her together." He turned her gently, cupping her face. "Sloane, you've been mothering Wren for 18 months. You're already amazing at this." "Wren is different. I chose her. And you chose Iris. And she's choosing you right back, every time she kicks, every time she responds to your voice." His thumbs brushed her cheeks. "You're going to be an incredible mother, because you know what children need, to be seen, to be valued, to be loved without conditions." You give that to Ren every single day. We give that to her. Yes, he agreed. We, together. Like everything else. They lay down, his body curved protectively around hers, one hand on her belly where their daughter moved. Do you ever regret it? Sloane asked quietly. Choosing this chaos over the safe, planned future you had mapped out? Every day, he said. She stiffened, and he laughed softly. Every day I wake up and think, I almost missed this. I almost married Serafina and lost everything that matters. And then I get to choose you again. That's the part I never regret. Getting to choose you over and over. Sap, she accused, but her voice was thick. You're sap. Forever. Forever, he promised. 3 weeks later, Iris Eleanor Merrick arrived at 3:47 a.m. on a Tuesday, 6 pounds of perfect fury with her father's eyes and her mother's wild auburn hair. Ren declared her the most beautiful baby in the history of babies and refused to leave the hospital room. Eleanor arrived with flowers and tears. The board sent a ridiculous fruit basket. Even Victoria Chen stopped by, looking uncharacteristically soft as she held the tiny bundle. But it was the moment when Thaddeus placed Iris in Ren's arms, supervised, careful, sacred, that Sloane's heart truly broke open. She's so small, Ren whispered, awed. Like a fairy. You were this small once, Thaddeus said. Hard to believe. Do you think she'll like me when she's bigger? She'll love you, Sloane said firmly. You're her big sister. You'll teach her everything important. Ren's smile was radiant. I'll teach her to paint and how to be brave. And that families don't have to match to be real. Perfect curriculum, Thaddeus said, his voice rough. Later, when Ren had reluctantly gone home with Eleanor and Iris slept in the bassinet beside them, Sloane and Thaddeus sat in the quiet hospital room, hands clasped. We did it, Sloane said. We actually built this. We're still building it, he corrected. Every day, one choice at a time. Good choices. The best choices. He lifted her hand, kissing the ring that matched his own. Thank you for crashing that party, for calling Serafina pathetic, for being too stubborn to leave when I told you to, for saving me. Thank you for letting me save you. Sloane looked at their daughter, their family, their impossible perfect life. For choosing us when everyone said you shouldn't. For being brave enough to want something for yourself. For wanting you, he corrected. Everything else was just details. Through the hospital window, dawn was breaking over Boston. Somewhere in the city, the Grandeur Hotel ballroom stood empty, waiting for its next event. The same space where, 2 years ago, Sloane had stood in a cheap floral dress and called a stranger's fiancé pathetic. Where she'd met Thaddeus Merrick and changed both their lives forever. Do you remember what you thought? Thaddeus asked, as if reading her mind. That first night when I said, my office now. That I'd just destroyed my entire life. And instead? Sloane looked at him, her husband, her partner, her best decision. Looked at their sleeping daughter. Thought of Ren, safe and healing at home. Of Eleanor, finally seeing her grandson happy. Of the consortium thriving, the company saved, the future bright. Instead, she said softly, I found it. He kissed her then, sweet and sure, tasting like coffee and promises, and everything good that came from being brave enough to choose love over fear. Outside, Boston woke to a new day. Inside, the Merrick family slept, broken pieces made whole, lost souls found, duty transformed into devotion. And Sloane Hartwell Merrick, former foster kid, former waitress, current author and mother and wife, finally understood what she'd been searching for her entire life. Not perfection, not safety, not even certainty. Just this. Being chosen. Being home. Being exactly where she belonged. Finally. Forever. Home. The end.